back to Dan's Bar. Well, guess what, folks? We made it. It's the end of 2020. It's New Year's Eve. Congratulations, you have made it all the way to the end of 2020. And what better way to celebrate than with a champagne cocktail? New Year's Eve is great for champagne, and champagne is delightful, but sometimes you just want to mix it up with a little bit more cocktaily goodness. So while you're going through all the things that you were able to achieve in 2020, and I highly recommend making a list. 2020 was a weird year. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, a lot of bad stuff, a lot about more bad stuff, but there was a lot of good stuff in there too. And making a list of all the things that were good in the year for you kind of helps make you realize that there's a lot of good in there too. That aside, making a cocktail with champagne, what better way to celebrate New Year's Eve than adding to your champagne goodness with more champagne? Have I said champagne enough? Not sure, we'll see. In any case, this is a drink called the Seelbach. I think somebody came up with it and came up with a fake background, and I could come up with another fake background, but it just sounded really good. And it's a combination of ounce of bourbon, half an ounce of Cointreau, bunch of bitters, and champagne as a topper. Put all those together, you get all the good flavors. You got the fruitiness, you got the bourbon oakiness, combined with some bubbly champagne, dilute it all down. You really just couldn't ask for a better New Year's bourbon, cocktail, all the good stuff. So let's make it. We start off with 1 ounce of a bourbon. In this case, I'm using a Jefferson Reserve because it is New Year's Eve and we are celebrating, so we're bringing out some tasty stuff. It's also a little bit less sweet, a little bit less punchy, a little bit less sharp than a lot of the other ones. So because it's so kind of nuanced and subtle, it's going to complement the champagne rather than overpowering it and taking kind of the forefront of that. In addition to 1 ounce of that, we're going to do half an ounce of Cointreau, and we can do that in the same thing because I have not yet, it's a 2 ounce pour, may as well do them at the same time. So we're going to do half an ounce of Cointreau just to add a little bit more fruitiness to the cocktail. And then we're just going to add a bunch of bitters because, you know, why not be bitter at the end of the year? It's a bad joke, I know. But you just add some more flavor. It's like spices. May as well add some more spices to our cocktail. So I'm doing both Angostura and as well as a hibiscus, lavender, and oak. I thought kind of the lavender would go nicely with the nice, more subtle bourbon, while also not overpowering any of the champagne. So we're going to do a pretty heavy pour of each of these. It does have bubbles, and bubbles are kind of dilute that, I think. I don't know. I've not made this before, so it'll be a fun experiment. So I'll do maybe 2 droppers full of this one. Gotta have some variety there. But if you have other ones, you could do Angostura or any other bitters you have. Whatever you have that looks good, by all means go for that. So fairly small amount in here so far. We're just gonna give it a little bit of a swirl or stir. We're not gonna shake it. I'm just using this because it's a nice, convenient, small size. Just to get it cold so it doesn't warm up the champagne when we do pour that in. So now that's just been stirred for a little bit. We put that into our glass, and then we will go ahead and top this with champagne. Now, as I have mentioned on numerous occasions, I hate flutes, so we are instead using a champagne coupe, which is as good for champagne as it is for other cocktails. So in addition to that, we're now going to top it with our champagne. Now, because I'm sure you won't hear this sound enough, we're going to pop the bottle. I don't know. There's something nice and satisfying about popping a champagne bottle. The sound you hear, just, I don't know. It's a sound of good things to come. And this is, in fact, not a champagne. It is a sparkling wine that I picked up. But I figured I was going to save the real good champagne for later tonight. For mixing with cocktails, you can always use the cheaper stuff because there's other flavors that are going to cover up what would have been a very good champagne otherwise. So, give this a little pop. Maybe. Huh? It popped! Top that off with a lovely little pour there. And there we have our Seelbach. Let's go ahead and give that a try. That was a satisfying pop, I like that one. Beautiful color, perfectly golden for the new year. What better could it be? Oh, I like that. It smells almost a little bit like a mimosa, because you got the orange from the Cointreau coming in there. But when you taste it, you first get the hit of the bourbon, kind of the oakiness, the nuttiness from that. And then as the champagne bubbles kind of go down, that's when the bitters hit. So you really kind of get each one of the flavors in phases. That's quite nice. Well, if you want to mix up your New Year's Eve celebrations, why not try a champagne cocktail? And until next year, cheers.